Now let's look at the difference in our script itself. I'll jump back to our site folder and I'm going to open up the products.php page. So the difference here is dramatic. We have an include, we're including our crud.php file, which we'll look at in just a moment. We set our title, we set our options, and then our content is the result of passing those options to data administration page. Now, this set of options takes care of displaying the list of data, dealing with the add and edit forms, and the delete link. Now let's take a close look at these options here. Now again, these are the differences that are going to exist between our different administration pages, between, for example, the products and the users and the pages. And everything else that's common between them has been pulled out and included inside of these CRUD functions. So first of all, we have the table name, and that's the name of our table in the database, which is products. We have the item name, which is, in this case, product. In the case of users, it would be user. We have our display columns. Now, one thing to note here is that this isn't the only way to isolate out these options. You could have structured this option array differently than I have here. But the way I've done this here is based on multiple iterations that I've gone through myself as I've built similar scripts. So this display columns option is the list of columns that are going to display in the record listing page. What we need here is the name of the field, but we also need the label that will display on the top of the column. So we have the PID, which is the unique identifier, and then the label is PID capitalized. We have title, which is the title column, and then title is the label name, price, and then price. So basically these all have their first letter uppercased, except in the case of PID, where we have it all uppercased. If everything was going to use this pattern, where we were just going to uppercase the first letter, then we could probably wrap that in a script too, and just supply the names of the fields. But sometimes the field names aren't necessarily going to align exactly with what we want to display in that label. Okay, our next configuration option is the ID column. Now this is the column that contains the unique identifier for these records. We need this because whenever we display an edit form, it includes that unique identifier that tells us what record we're actually updating. The same thing with our delete link. Next, we have our default sort column. This is the column that we're going to order the records by default. If we were going to enhance this script somewhat, we could also add a list of columns that we would allow sorting by, and then we would allow the user to select the columns that they want to sort by. Our script is a little bit more simple at this point. So we're sorting by title, and then this add edit columns array is a list of columns that we're going to display in the add edit form. For now, we're giving it 3 pieces of data. First is the column name, which also serves as a unique identifier for each field and will be used in the name attribute of the input tag. And then we have the title, which will display as a label to the field, and then the list of validations that we want to run on this field. In this case, we want the title to be required. We want them to insert something for this field, so we'll pass that as a requirement. For price, we're going to run 2 validations, required and also numeric, to make sure that this is a number that's being inserted. Notice that we also have one more option here that we're passing to the field, which is prefix, which we didn't see for the title. And this will display some content to the left of the field, so we know a little bit more about what should go in the field. This prefix indicates that we don't need to add the $sign within the field itself. And then finally we have our image field. The title is image, and our validation is simply required. So believe it or not, that's all we need in order to pass to our data administration page function in order to have it process our full CRUD functionality. Let's take a look at our users as well. So I'm going to go back to our site folder, and I'm going to copy over this users.php file into our admin folder. So I'll copy it, paste it into the admin folder, and then we need to rename our current users.php file users-old, just so it doesn't get pulled in when we go to the page. And then we'll rename our step file to users.php. Now let's open up this file. And you see this is even shorter than our products page because we have fewer columns we're dealing with. So we have our title, administer users, and then we have our array of options here. We have the table name, we have the item name. In the other case, it was product, now it's user. We we have the display columns. We're going to display the user ID and the username, and then these are the labels for them. We have our unique identifier column, which in this case is UID. We have the default sort column, which is username. And then we have our add edit columns, which again are the columns that are going to end up displaying as fields in the add edit form. And we have our username and password. For validation for our username, we have required and alphanumeric, and the same thing for our password here.